Yeah. Yeah, I have. If it's ever because I like when I roll with upper belts, right? We're going at each other, so it's like it's not that they're crazy, but they put a lot of energy forward, but it's controlled.
It can get a little heated too, right?
It can get heated, but it's still controlled because like you're both trying to tap each other at 100%.
You're not always trying to hurt each other at the same time, but you're trying to go as hard as you can.
But when you roll with like a white belt, right? And it usually tends to be maybe bigger white belts that they don't have much experience rolling. So since they don't have much experience, they're doing a lot of just crazy stuff. That's when you'll probably run into some like crazy unorthodox because
somebody might get hurt.
Yeah, so somebody might get hurt, and it could be them because a lot of times also white belts don't know how to escape stuff. So you'll be doing something and they'll escape the wrong way, which will make it tighter, and you'll have to kind of let go because if they don't escape the right way, they could hurt themselves. So it's usually guys that are newer that you tend to run into the crazy stuff, or people that are new coming to your school that are like, let's say they are an upper belt, but they
want to be kind of sizing you up a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. Then they'll come with some heat, like maybe some unnecessary heat.
When I was boxing, that was a hard thing to deal with. Is like, I learned a lot of technique, and I wasn't like, I wasn't so good that I was like this polished veteran or anything. So, I'm sure if I was, and if I did it longer, then I could probably figure out a way to deal with anybody. But I was 2 or 3 years in, and I practiced quite a bit, put a lot of time into it. But every once in a while, you go against someone who's just nutty. And they would throw like unorthodox punches, and they were just, for lack of a better term, just kind of a crackhead. And were like, damn, like I'm not. And then even when you hit them, you're like, I hit the guy pretty good, and I'm able to throw some pretty good shots. I'm like, I don't even think that bothered him. I think I don't think that hurt him at all.
Yeah.
Like, now what the hell do I do? And then they also they just just had endless amounts of energy. So like the stamina side of things was kind of crazy too. I was like, it was hard to figure out, like, what am I going to do against this guy? He's like, he's not southpaw, and he's not left-handed or right-handed. He's just like fighting whatever way he can, and he's like in a fight. I think that's kind of the difference. And does jiu-jitsu get that way sometimes, where it's like a fight, or is it is it more tactical?
It gets that way, but I think it's extremely tactical all the time whenever you're rolling with people that have experience, just because there's so many different things. And not saying like with boxing there isn't, but with jiu-jitsu, like there's so many different positions. And I mean, if you're going at like 100% the whole match, it gets kind of difficult to do that. Cause like if someone has you mounted, and for people that don't know, like mounted is when they're on top of you, you can't be wasting all of your energy, trying to break out of that mount, especially if they have you pinned down in position. You got to wait for a specific opening in a specific small 2-second period where you can break out of it. So it can be at 100%, but it's super tactical.
So even if someone is going crazy, you would recognize it and be like, I'm just gonna wait for this to pass, because there's kind of like holds in jiu-jitsu as opposed to boxing, where you can kind of like in fight and you can get close to each other and hug each other and things like that, but it's way different now. Like if I was on top of you and I'm just trying to go Donkey Kong and trying to act all wild to try to sneak in a cheap victory or whatever, you would just be like, okay, well, Mark's not that experienced, and I'm just going to kind of hang here and wait for an opening. He'll probably get tired.
Yeah.
And you're going to kind of keep poking around and seeing where there might be like an opening, right?
Exactly. That's how a lot of it happens. Like,
so even though I'm out of control, you're still controlled enough, and eventually the fight will be controlled, and I'll probably end up being controlled and probably end up being over, right?
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of that is a lot of what I do, and a lot of what I see a lot of other people doing jiu-jitsu. Like, there's certain parts of the fight where it's back and forth, and just a lot of back and forth. But there are certain parts where I'll just have to chill if I'm in a bad position. I'm just gonna have to chill for a little bit and wait, and then boom, there's a moment I can go, and then I can go. But that's super tactical. That's why people call it like a chess game, because there's the scrambling portion of it. Then when a person gets into certain positions, like they hold for a while and it looks like nothing's going on, but there's a lot going on. But that's also why I think sometimes it's difficult for it to be a spectator sport. I don't know if you've ever watched any recent jiu-jitsu, but in a lot of no-gi jiu-jitsu, no-gi is when, they're not wearing the gi or whatever, they're wearing like spandex.
Mm-hmm.
The leg lock game is super popular now. So, tapping people from the knees and the ankles, but that shit is so boring to watch. And it's just, it takes away from the spectator aspect of the sport. But yeah, it's super tactical.
Well, I think after, I don't even think, I'm just going to do it. After this bench meet, April 7th, hopefully the week after, I'll pop in and try some jiu-jitsu. Maybe I'll go over to your place and try it out. Something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I did it when I was younger, but I only did it for just a couple weeks, and I didn't really, I didn't know what I was doing or anything, but it's something I'd like to get into more. And I just need to switch gears. I need to like do something different.
Yeah.
And I've tried to do some different things, and I have pretty much failed miserably. I always get pulled back into powerlifting, which will probably always happen. It probably happened my whole life. It's just kind of part of who I am. But I'd like to try some different things, and I'd like to, still work on being more mobile and stuff like that. And I think jiu-jitsu would be fun. It
would be. You'd have no problem with this, but man, you just got to be patient.
Yeah.
Especially when you start out, because like there's so much.
It takes me a really long time to learn stuff, and even when it comes to, you would figure on a physical level, you'd figure that I would adapt to those things pretty quickly. But when it comes to that, it still takes me a lot of figuring, because I remember in jiu-jitsu, it was like doing like long division. It was like doing these really hard math problems where it wasn't, just addition and subtraction. There was a lot of steps that were involved in like getting these different locks or getting out of something and then, gaining position. So I would get someone like halfway into something and I was like, I don't remember what the fuck else to do.
Yeah.
And I would just like hold on to something and I'm like, I forget, the time has passed. Now we're 3 moves into something totally different,
Yeah, like Cassio says, it's called the invisible technique. There's a way to do something, and then there's all these little small intangibles that you don't realize until you really know what you're doing. Then oh wow, the thumb actually needs to be facing up for me to armbar this guy in an easier fashion. It's really, really, really cool. But that's the thing. It's like
some of it's really complicated and some of it's really simple. Like if I can just make this guy squirm and make this guy like be in pain, then I can probably get him in whatever hold I want. So that's when you dig your elbows and knees into somebody.
Yeah.
That's some of the more simple stuff. But that's not even really common sense, right? Oh, here I am. Yeah, look, check out this mobility. Like, I'm like trying to figure out how to move my hips. I'm like, how did he do that?
When was this?
This was when we went to On It.
It was about 2 years ago.
Yeah,
a year and a half ago.
A year and a half
was
ago.
This the one you told me about where like he goes out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other guy was like rolling with me, and Kyle got pissed off at the guy and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, we just came back from the Arnold Classic, and we had an amazing time out there in Columbus, Ohio. Amazing to get out there with the team, and amazing to get out there, it's like freezing cold out there. It's snowing and all that stuff, and it's just so much fun to meet so many different people and meet so many fans of this show, meet so many fans of Super Training and of Slingshot, and it's a lot of work. But, those trade shows are always something I'm always trying to figure out how to improve upon. How do we make these better? But when I think about the amount of money and the amount of time, the amount of effort that goes into it, I can't help but like reflect back and think, man, it really doesn't matter what it costs or how much time it takes. And it doesn't matter how many people we have to bring, because it's worth it because of the fans. We meet some of these people that have these incredible stories. I met countless people that have been inspired by this show. I met a number of people that lost 100 pounds. I met a number of people that lost 30 pounds. I met a lot of people that were just starting. They were like, hey, man, I just got your book, got the War on Carbs, and I'm just getting started. I met a lot of people that said that I got them into powerlifting, which that never gets old. I can hear that all day long. That makes me feel amazing, because it makes me think back to who got me into powerlifting, which was Ed Cohn, which Ed Cohn now just hangs out. He's just like hanging out. And I'm like, this is This is like Michael Jordan just like randomly hanging out with some kid that got inspired to play basketball from him. It's the equivalent for me. I'm always so excited to see him, and I always wish I had more time to even chat with him, because at those shows things get a little crazy. But the response from the fans was at an all-time high. Like, even just trying to leave the booth and trying to get somewhere starting to become more and more of a challenge. And then once I get recognized by one person, then it's kind of like game on, and I kind of get swarmed, which is a good feeling. It's all very positive. I didn't have any negative interactions at all. It is kind of weird. You're trying to like do certain things or go to the bathroom or and I've learned, like, I have my own time, and then I have time to meet fans. So, some people that I may have passed, I apologize. I just simply don't have time to stop for every single person. And I try my best to make time, but I've always wondered, when I was a kid and like a baseball player would say, "No, sorry, kid, I don't have time." I was always like, "Man, what a dick."
Yeah.
But now I mean, if it's a little kid, you should always stop for a little kid. But now I kind of understand. It makes a lot more sense. You literally you just do not have time to do that 24/7. But it was outstanding. A lot of fun.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. I feel terrible because I wish I could remember his name, but somebody was waiting in line, just like everybody else. He got right up to the front, and that's right when Team Cupcake Powerlifting was in there. So I was like, "Oh, hey, Mark, check it out." And then, so like you guys are chatting, and I'm taking pictures, and I just hear, "Andrew, dude, what the heck?" And I'm like, "What? What's wrong?" He's like, "I was about to meet Mark, and you pulled him away." I'm like, "Oh shit, dude, let me go get him." And then, like that's when Charles Glass showed up, and just like one after another, somebody kept coming back. And I was like,
Charles Glass came with the ladies, so that was distracting.
yeah. And so and I looked back, and the kid was gone. So, dude, sorry, man.
Yeah. Podcast feedback was really cool too.
Yeah,
a lot
it
of
was.
people were like talking about like how much they're enjoying the nutrition information from it, which is cool.
Yeah.
So it was really fun meeting everybody.
Yeah.
It's wild, right? It's wild.
Yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, I got to
recording
take
from this room, and it blasts out to someone in Michigan.
Yeah, or like I met some fans from Canada. They're just like, "Yeah, we came in, for the Arnold."
I didn't
and
know
blah,
they
blah,
had
blah.
reception up there
I guess they do now. Maybe it's a new thing. I
because the
don't know.
Natty Professor fixed our crank.
Yeah,
I was about
it's-
to mention. Yeah. I
yeah,
fixed
we
it
got
for you
extra
guys.
wattage now. But yeah, a couple came up, took pictures with them, and it was just like, dude, like, it's like, what the hell? Like, what's going on here? This is crazy, but it was super cool. Yeah.
Have you signed any autographs yet?
No, I did not.
But
No.
you've taken pictures with people?
Pictures, yeah, and I punched a dude.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
In the
How
face?
did that happen?
So,
Did he get turned on from it?
no, he got kind of upset.
Oh.
No, I was helping him with elbow sleeves.
Oh.
And so I pushed it up his elbow, and then
You're getting stronger now, so you got to be,
so as
careful.
as I'm lifting it up and over, it slipped and wham, just right in his mouth. I was
like an uppercut?
yeah,
To the
not like a proper uppercut, but just like a upward punch
Oh,
to his
even
face.
worse.
And I was like, oh shit. He didn't buy them. I don't know why. So I was upset that I didn't make the sale.
Like, dude,
But-
there's a lot more punches where that came from. You better
Yeah.
buy these fucking sleeves.
Yeah, I was pretty upset that he didn't buy them, but I would imagine he was pretty pissed off that he got punched.
Bunch of crap.
Yeah. But other than that,
He didn't punch back.
No. So all I did in the booth was just piss people off and crush people's dreams of meeting Mark. That's all I did.
A lot of people are getting pumps this weekend with that bench press.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The gym bros are just like, what's the challenge? Like, dude, there's no challenge. It's just to try out the slingshot. What do I got to do to win it? Like, there's no contest, dude.
Yeah.
Just get in here, get
Hey,
a feel
what's that
for
thing do? It makes it harder to bench, right?
it. Yeah, there was a lot of that, too.
You're like, oh, God.
yeah.
Shout out to Matt Winning for bringing the
Yeah.
bench. That was a nice bench setup that we had in there, and it's great to kind of go back to the basics. That's what we used to do. We used to have a bench in the booth, and then we stopped doing that for a while because we figured enough people have seen the slingshot. But there's so many more people in fitness. I mean, I can't even try to put a number on it, but it seemed like 3 years ago we reached most of the people that we thought we would reach, and we reached most of the people in like the strength community. But now there's so many more people that have jumped in that we're not even close to reaching everybody. So there's a lot of people that came in that have never seen the product before.
Yeah.
And it's great to get them to actually try it and actually feel it.
No, like I was really surprised because like a lot of dudes, they come up, they're like, I've seen this before. Like a friend of mine has this, but I don't know what it's used for. I'm like, wow, you still haven't used a slingshot. So whenever you see somebody's face though, when they hop on the bench with the slingshot on, and they're like, oh my God, this is great. It's really cool. It's that's pretty dope.
Yeah, I helped a girl. She had never tried it on either, or tried the slingshot out, and so I go to her friend. I was just like, "Hey, do you want to try one too?" And she's like, "Oh no, I got one." I'm like, why don't you let your friend use it?
Yeah.
And I think they lived in different areas, but like she's like, yeah, she has no idea what it is and what it does, so I wanted her to try it out. I'm like, oh, okay, well that's cool, because then it's like referral. Yeah, she did buy it.
Everybody, share your slingshot with a friend that doesn't have one. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah, share the slingshot and this podcast.
Yeah, or you can do what employees of this company have done before. You can use a pair of gangster raps to get a little something from a lady.
That's right. Yeah, that's how.
Nsima's highly interested in this conversation.
Maybe we'll leave names out.
Yeah, no, we don't need to name any names.
Let's just say somebody associated with the company may have, like that was like the icebreaker was like, here's gangster raps.
And they use their street cred.
And then some street cred, and then hey, what happens at the Arnold sometimes should stay at the Arnold.
My cousin was all into that too. My cousin was all into like getting the fragmented ladies, from the popularity of the booth. He was like, I ran into some pretty hot chicks, and he's like, they asked me if I knew you. I'm like, I'm his cousin. They were like, really? They're like, oh, what do you do? I was like, damn. I'm like, hey, full advantage.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Why not? Ride that wave wave of yoga pants.
There was a lot of yoga pants.
I didn't notice.
Yeah, neither did I. No, I didn't. I don't even know what Andrew's talking about.
I looked at everyone in the eyes too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was totally normal. It was super fun.
Jesse,
just a bunch of dudes, really.
Jesse Burdick said that he's like, I just want to go up to some of these girls and say, listen, I appreciate the full view of your vagina in these high-waisted, he called them high-waisted vagina pants. I was like, that's what they should be. They should just be called that.
Yeah.
He's like, they know, right? They know, like, they know we can see everything, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah, I think so. I'm
pretty
sure they totally know.
Yeah, there was the...
I mean, it's not like they don't have a mirror. It's not like, it's not like they're not checking themselves out before they leave,
man.
and they didn't take 14 pictures before they left.
Oh, yeah. There was the chicks that were bouncing up and down on those, like, springy whatever things. I'm like, you can only do that here at an expo.
Yeah.
Outside of an expo, you're kind of an asshole if you're jumping around on these things. And he's like, you can see that girl's asshole when she jumps up. Oh my God. It's so bad.
It was great.
Expos have the most interesting clothing, especially the bodybuilding one, the Olympia. That's where you see some wild shit. Because they're all physique athletes, and everyone's wearing the most minimal amount of clothing they can manage to show as much skin. Yeah, it's wild. Yeah. It's wild.
It's amazing though, because someone will have a stringer tank and they'll be like 5'5" and they'll be like 140, and you're like, have you not seen the other people walking around? I mean, there's professional bodybuilders walking around. Yeah, maybe you should cover up a little bit more than that. It's not really working that well for you.
You do it for the culture, man. It's not for how you look. It's because you're in a bodybuilding expo. It's for the culture at that point.
Yeah, and then some of the booths just have people just wearing paint and like almost nothing.
I saw that.
Or pasties.
Yeah. Those were pretty cool. And then do you guys see Bang? What they were doing over there?
How can you miss?
My God, that was a headache,
dude. That was
a party.
That was a sick rave
for like 10 hours every day for 3 days straight. How did they do it?
Yeah,
they had a lot of Bang energy.
Yeah.
They were legit people. Like there was a crowd of people like dancing and stuff in front of their booth because like they had a guy on stage and it was a whole on thing. But that was. My God.
A lot of people are like, that was so stupid. I'm like, I think it's brilliant.
It is smart.
I think it's great. It goes along with the product that they have. And they made a lot of noise.
Yeah, Jesse was like, I dare you to walk down this aisle straight through all the way to the end and back. He's like, you can't stop until you get to the end. And I'm like, what is he talking about? And then all of a sudden, okay, so I got close to the Bang booth and then I was like, I can't get through. There's no way. Like, there's just too much going on.
Hey, good for them.
It's complicated for those big companies. They need to spend a lot of money.
I mean, they had
for
signage
tax purposes and all kinds of stuff, but I don't think they were even selling anything. I think they were just giving stuff away.
Yeah. Dang, someone
they
said
were.
the CEO of Bang crowd surfed. Like, shit, there was enough people to do that for sure.
Damn.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
there was. It
I mean,
was
they had
crazy.
signage everywhere, though. Like, the
That
entire
VPX
place.
company they got some, they have that red line shit, man, that like anyone that loves pre-workout, they always talk about how much they love pre-workout, how intense they love the pre-workout to be, or how strong they love their coffee to be. And then you mentioned red line, they're like, oh, no, I don't fuck with that. They're like, no, I'm not going to mess with that one.
You know how much caffeine's in that? I've never had a red line.
I'm not sure, but like it tells
I'll
you,
look it up.
it tells you to only drink half.
Yeah.
And it's a good recommendation.
Dang, anything that tells you only drink half of this is not a good idea.
What about those Kratom extracts, huh?
I'm a
Ooh,
fan.
yeah.
I am a fan.
That was some good
So
shit.
everybody was high as a kite.
Yeah,
Was that the first
we were-
day? Or is it the second?
I think it might have been the second day.
I had it on the second day, bro.
Yeah.
Natty
That was
Professor was so happy.
That was some good shit.
Jessica was like, "Oh shit, I'm high." You know, like when it hits you.
When it hits you, bro.
So that was like super concerning for me because I'm like, I talked to his name was Tom at the Urban Ice booth.
Yep.
And he's like, how many capsules do you normally take? I'm like, just like 1 to 2. I don't really like, get much out of it. And then so he's like, okay, don't take more than half. And as he said that, all I can see is Nsima taking a whole like bottle. I can see Jessica taking a whole
trying
bottle.
to say no.
Yeah. And then so what? Like, so I'm like, I got back to our booth and I'm like, whatever, dude. I don't want to be a wuss. I'm gonna take the whole thing. I took the whole thing, felt nothing. It's like, damn, dude, maybe I take way more than I like let on.
That slow hit.
But then I did the next day and whoo, I felt it. So for some reason, the first day didn't feel nothing. Second day, I was like, I was a chatty Cathy. Anybody that came up to the booth, I was just like, how you guys doing? Enjoying the show? Like, didn't even care about making the sale or anything. It was just like going.
Did you have
Just
an
going
empty
off.
stomach that first day or not?
I believe both days I had an empty
You
stomach.
did?
Yeah.
Man, that first day, yeah, no. I took it. I had an empty stomach. I already had some coffee. And for like 30, 35 minutes, I'm like, I'm not feeling anything. And then it's legit. It's like,
Like
you
full
just see
body.
your eyes open and you're just like, I was so fucking. It was so good though. Like it wasn't even like I was still talking to everybody, but I was just like, hey,
Yeah.
everybody.
It
It's a good feeling.
It's weird how long it takes.
Yeah,
That's a weird thing about Kratom. It takes like 30 minutes. Sometimes it takes 40 minutes.
yeah.
And then if you have any food in your stomach, it might take like an hour to hit you, or it might not even hit you at all. So it can be unpredictable a little bit. But when you have it on an empty stomach, you usually feel it pretty good.
Yeah, Jesse took it and he said he didn't feel anything either. But me and Jess, we took the whole bottle and we were good.
Nice.
That's some good stuff. But
We at the Arnold, we also got to watch some strongman, and
Yeah.
got to watch Hapthor Bjornsson kick some ass again. Unbelievable. He's just an absolute monster. Seems like he just keeps getting bigger. Seems like he keeps getting better. But unfortunately, our boy Brian Shaw ended up getting a hamstring injury on a deadlift, and it gets to be really hard because you're in like direct competition with these other athletes, and so it's really hard to stay in your lane. It's hard to like Brian probably shouldn't have took that deadlift, but how do you not? Because like that deadlift would have put him ahead of Thor, and then Thor would have had to make his third attempt deadlift, which he was probably going to make anyway. But how do you not compete as hard as you can?
Yeah.
How do you leave something on the table? But at the same time, with 5 events, it probably makes sense to leave something on the table for every event except for maybe the last one, right? And to try to pick up points and to try to be really strategic. It's so easy to say that after the fact. It's so easy to say that, oh yeah, I should do it this way. But unfortunately, Brian ended up, pulling a hamstring. I think with like 1,050, something like that. It was.
So he nailed the 1,021, and then the next one the 1,050, or I think it was like even 1,049 or something. But
Yeah.
because of the kilos, they couldn't quite get it right. But yeah, that's when it's so frustrating because it's like he could have foregone. Is that how you say it?
yeah,
Okay.
skipped it.
He could have skipped it and he still would have been second
Yeah.
because Thor missed his next one. But you're right. How do you know? Like you do not know. It's impossible.
Well, then Thor also took like a huge jump because he tried that 11:02, which he wouldn't have if Brian would have made his. So they're trying to jockey for position and everything, but whatever the case is, it was pretty amazing to be that up close to the action and to watch these guys, do what they do best. Brian Shaw has been competing at a high level for probably about 12 years, maybe a little bit longer. And then this was his 10th Arnold, I think in a row, his 10th Arnold in a row. And he's won a few of them as well. I want to say that he's won probably at least 3 or 4 of them. And in one year, he won the World's Strongest Man. That's a great shot right there,
Yeah.
Thor and Brian. Right now, Thor's got the upper hand, and Brian, has his back to the wall because Thor has won the World's Strongest Man. He's won the Arnold. I think he might have won World's Strongest Man. He may have won World's Strongest Man twice in a row. I know he won the Arnold twice in a row.
I think he only won World's Strongest Man once.
You're
so
probably
far.
right. You're probably right, yeah. But he won the Arnold last year. Then he won World's Strongest Man. And then he won the Arnold this year. And now they're going into World's Strongest Man again, which I think is probably 10, 12 weeks away from now. And I ended up I had some really just wild conversations in the booth with many different people during the show, like stuff that takes time to recover from, like because the emotion of some of the conversations I had with people, some of these things, I'm like, fuck, man, I need to like go somewhere by myself for like 10 minutes because, people are telling me about like deaths in the family and people are telling me about how they had, addictions to drugs or alcohol or all these different things. And it gets to be overwhelming. But my favorite conversation of the weekend was with Brian Shaw, where he and I had a very real conversation about family and about, what he's trying to do and, his goal to be World's Strongest Man again and to be back on top. And Jessica Smith was actually standing right there for a lot of these conversations, which I thought was great because Jessica's really young and she gets to kind of hear these conversations that are deep, that these things matter, and these things they're way different than anything just about like lifting weights or just about losing 10 pounds of body fat or anything like that. And the conversation I had with Brian Shaw was basically like, I just think in order for you to do what you need to do next, which is beat Thor, I think the only way that that's going to happen is if you just try something different, not so much with the training, but just maybe take some time off, take a couple of weeks and just don't lift. Maybe just, it's hard. It's hard to like, hey man, just relax. You lose a tournament in jiu-jitsu. It's easy for your coach to come over and say, hey, you know what? I think you should take like 2 months off. You'd be like, no, man, I'm back to training tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because you're so hungry for it. But I think in this case, especially when you've been doing something for so long, it's time to shift gears a little bit and just give yourself some time to reflect, give your body, mind, and spirit some time to recover. So my advice, and I hopefully he takes it to heart. My advice to Brian was just take a couple of weeks off, reevaluate where you're at, and be open and accepting of the fact that maybe it'd be a good idea to forego World's Strongest Man for this year, which is like impossible for a guy like that to do. He's been there the last X amount of years. He's, super excited about, being on top. And I'm sure when World's Strongest Man comes around, his hamstring will probably feel better.
Yeah.
He'll probably feel strong. But I feel like if he just gives himself time, that time will allow his body, mind, and spirit to heal enough to where he can come back and win another World's Strongest Man.
Yeah, you'll be able to attack it with more vigor. It's like, I mean, I don't want to even, can't use this comparison, but when you're thinking of like a power lifter that's competing every single year, it's not taking much time between competitions, usually you see that from the higher level because maybe they know that they don't need that much time to increase the small amounts of strength. But when you've been on top, like Shaw's been, he's won 4 times, right? And you've been competing for so long, that little break might allow you to come back the next year so much stronger, But it like you mentioned, it is super hard for a competitor that's there all the time and is the top guy all the time to just be like, okay, I'll be out, but I'll be back, I don't doubt that he has the 100% capacity to just leave for a little bit and come back much stronger if he gives himself some rest. But I think what's going to take even more courage is actually doing that. I think it's I feel
it's
like
going to take more strength for him to not compete than it will for him to compete.
Yeah, because it's like he's so used to competing, and it's like it's in him. That walking away just for a little bit, that's going to be the hardest thing. And
It's a great picture, Andrew.
yeah,
Thank you.
did you take that, Andrew?
Yeah, I took all these pictures.
My God, wow,
Badass.
that's really sick.
No,
But
I saw it, and it took me about 50 shots to get it right, though.
yeah,
No, you nailed it.
That's being a part of all this, like it's crazy because like Chris Griffin and I, we had media passes, but that doesn't mean that they're gonna just roll out the red carpet for you. You have to bulldoze your way to get into like the like media pit, basically.
yeah.
And every time it's like, dude, how are we gonna do this? And then we figure it out. I just get right behind Chris and we just keep pushing, and then we always end up right.
It's kind of exciting, right?
It's yeah, dude. And then like we end up right in the front, and it's like, oh my gosh, dude, like I can't believe we're here again.
You guys were front and center.
Yeah,
You were like right
Right
center, right in the middle. It was awesome.
yeah. So I mean, and that comes with like the experience of going there like this last 3 years in a row now, but. It sucks, man. I hate seeing Shaw get hurt.
Yeah.
But then seeing Thor go crazy, it's like, oh my gosh. And not that he didn't have my respect already, but when Thor went for the like the world record or whatever on the elephant bar, he already had everything in the bag.
Yeah.
He could have saved all his energy, and he could have went and just like, oh, I'm gonna just go to the next event, I'm gonna forego this.
Yeah.
And he went for it. And anything could happen. And I know there was like a $50,000 check on the line, but like
He would have tried it either way, probably.
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And then it's like, dude, like man, the risk reward, it's like he doesn't care, he's gonna go for it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, the respect I already had for him is just like through the roof. It was so sick. And then just like I said, just to be there, hear the crowd behind you, because you're right in the middle, so you hear all sides coming right towards the stage, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. And it's because I'm taking pictures, it's it's silly, but it's really cool. The frustrating thing is the people that have better seats than me are just on their phones.
Yeah.
It's funny too, because the whole expo, like I was at the booth, but like whenever they were on the elephant bar doing the deadlifts, the whole expo pretty much kind of like stopped and started looking at the screen. So you just hear everything die down and everyone's staring at that screen.
Yeah.
That was pretty crazy. But you guys know more about basketball than I do, obviously. When Jordan left, I think he left for what, 2 years to play golf or something?
Yeah.
1 or 2.
To play baseball.
Baseball. There we go. Baseball. When he came back, did he win any more championships or no?
think
Oh yeah.
He did?
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying they're the same athlete, but it's very possible, especially because like even though Shaw is older, it's not like athletically, like he still has that capacity. You know what I mean? It's not like age is taking its toll on him. It's just like, he could really just like take a little bit, keep training, take a little bit of a rest in terms of that, come back, kill it, and be right back on top. I really feel like he could do that, but this is just coming from your average athletes.
Yeah, we're not of that caliber. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It was amazing to watch Thor go for that 1102 deadlift, which would have been an all-time world record deadlift, and to try to compare that to anything in another sport is actually really hard, because it's like I don't even know an analogy. Like it just doesn't make any sense to like roll the dice with such a dangerous thing. Like if you were to if you were in competition, in a track meet or something like that, and they said, okay, you can go for this because this will be an all-time world record, but you already won a gold medal, it would be. I mean, I don't think anybody would choose to do it. Like in most cases, and to really watch these guys, pour so much into it was really crazy. And Thor is just, he's just going after, things that he thinks will make him great. He's trying to be not just good, he's trying to be great, and he's trying to not only be great, but he's trying to be one of the greatest of all time. And he's starting to definitely kind of fit into that category. But yeah, that conversation with Brian was great, and he and I went back and forth and stuff. We talked a lot about family. He's got 2 very, very young children. He has an infant son, and then I think his other son is maybe like 3 or something, right?
It's like 3, yeah.
Braxton, right? And so not to make excuses for the guys. I'm sure Thor has tons of responsibilities as well, but being married with children is another aspect of the game that has to be kind of factored in there. And so that's part of the reason why I mentioned, maybe taking some time off, maybe reevaluating, maybe some conversation with the wifey about like, hey, what is this? When we go for this next year, what does this look like? Brian mentioned how, at the Arnold, he's been there 10 years in a row, and how he doesn't feel like he always gets treated well. It's like, well, you've been there 10 years in a row, and the likelihood of that changing is probably low. So because you know that, you either A, do no longer compete in the World's Strongest Man, or B, you think about a different way to approach the event, a different way to go to the event, those kind of things. So you kind of prep yourself for conditions that maybe that you don't feel are ideal, or you just completely remove yourself from it and say, you know what, I'm just not even going to, I already have negative connotations going in, and I don't know how to get rid of them, so I'm just not going to go. Again, that would be hard. Yeah, at the Arnold. Again, that would be a tough thing to do, but to me, it makes some sense, and it would, but it's probably too hard to do, because then people are going to say, yeah, he's probably not showing up because Thor beat him last year. You know what I mean? Then you got to deal with a whole nother side of things. But I really do think, taking some time to kind of reevaluate, not so much the training, but just reevaluate, how you're going to attack this thing almost as a family. Because it does, a lot of people, they don't give credit to the wife. They don't give credit. The whole family's involved. I'm sure like his parents are involved. Mm-hmm. Her parents are involved. It takes an army. It takes an army to get these guys on these platforms and to have them become world champions like this. So that's why, from that standpoint, I think it'd be a great idea just to kind of slow everything down and say, let's try to figure out what this is going to look like for next year. But let's take a few weeks out, a few weeks off.
Yeah. There's been I don't know if it's already known, but like Worlds being possibly in California. I don't know if I misunderstood that or not.
World's Strongest Man?
Yeah, they've been talking about Los Angeles possibly, I think.
So do you think that's going to factor into Shaw deciding to do it? Because it's like, man, it's normally like a pain in the dick to get out to wherever it is. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, if it's here, man, that's going to be really hard to pass up.
Yeah. I think just taking a little bit of time off will help him to reevaluate, and then he'll know how bad the hamstring is and stuff. And then he can kind of make a decision.
All right, so when you say a little bit of time, you don't mean like take a year and skip all these other events?
Yeah, I just mean like take a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Kind of reevaluate how you feel, get back into training, and if the hamstring is garbage and it's not feeling right, then you probably need to, not do the Arnold or not do the World's Strongest Man, because it's probably too close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You got to assume that a guy like him, who's won it so many times, is going into this with the intention of winning. So he's smart enough to like see, okay, if I know I have the capacity to win, I'm gonna make this happen. I don't know if he's going into like, he's not going into place second or third. He's going in to try and win. So we'll see what decision he makes. But I'm excited to see him compete again. Let's just say that. Yeah, I want to see him win so bad, man.
Yeah, the year he won the Arnold, I hadn't spent any time with him yet.
Yeah,
and then the last 2 years I have, and now I'm just like, come on, man. Yeah. Like I'm invested, So it's like to see him get hurt on that deadlift. It's like, oh, dude, like
that was special that we were there for the year that he won the Arnold, because he won it. He barely had to do like the last event, mm-hmm. which was kind of cool. Like mm-hmm. he had it in the bag the whole time. He was very dominant. And then that year he also won the World's Strongest Man. So that was special to watch all that unfold. But I think these conversations I had at the booth and stuff, like my wife and I have been trying to figure out like what can we do at these shows that's different, and we have some ideas that we want to do some things differently for next year's Arnold, but we're not exactly sure what those things are. It's a full year away. I know we want to do more podcast stuff, and it was something that we've been kicking around, was to, rent out a nice like lobby or lounge somewhere in a hotel or conference room, and really try to shotgun through a lot of podcasts with a lot of great people. I would love to do like collaborative stuff. When I went to Rogue, it was like a CrossFit wonderland. It was unbelievable how many CrossFit champions were in there.
Yeah.
It was just insane. And then Bill Henninger was in there too. I mean, it's like, this guy's like pioneering, how manufacturing of equipment is going. I mean, Rogue products are in every gym in the country. He mentioned something to the effect of like, I'm not sure if I think he said 100. I think he said 100,000 pounds. They're going through 100,000 pounds of steel a week. It was something wild like that, and I was like, just didn't even. Yeah, boom, brain exploded. But the facility that he has, where Rogue Fitness is, and they also have other facilities too, still, is bigger than where the Arnold was. I mean, it's bigger than the convention center. It's huge. And now they're building like a Rogue stadium, so they're going to have events there and stuff. It was insane. But when I went to Rogue, I was like, man, how amazing would it be to do a podcast with Rich Froning and Matt Frazier, who are just sitting right here, and they're so nice and they're so humble. It's like, it's unbelievable. I'm sitting there watching Matt Frazier go through 19.2, which maybe you can look up what the workout was, Andrew. Mm-hmm. But this motherfucker's doing cleans with 315 like it's nothing at the end of a workout. And it's like, I think they went for 20 minutes straight doing toes to bar and double unders. Toes to bar, double unders, cleans. Toes to bars, double unders, cleans. And the weight increases as you go through it.
Yeah.
He's just sitting in a giant puddle of sweat. Mm-hmm. And to watch him like, to watch this like self-mastery happen, like, to watch this guy know, okay, I can do 2 reps in a row here. Okay, I better rest. You watch him just kneel down on the ground for a little bit, huff and puff, get back up. Okay, I can gut out 3 reps. Okay, time's getting close. I'm going to do 2 reps and then rest, and then do 1 rep and then rest, and then do 2 reps, and then I'm done. And just to watch him and there was no. He's fired up, he's excited, but there's no like grunting, there's no show, there's no, it's just him, he's in his own world. I mean, there could have been no one else there and he would have been going at it just as hard. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, Rich Froning is there doing his own workout. And me and Jesse are watching all this unfold, and we're watching Rich Froning doing single leg squats, but he wasn't doing a pistol squat. He was doing it with his leg back behind him, almost like a single leg static lunge.
And he was going like to depth with that?
Yeah, he was going pretty low with that. And me and Jesse were like, he's doing that in between doing sit-ups on the glute ham raise, and in between like doing something on the bike. But meanwhile, he's sitting there having conversations with people. He's like talking in between his sets because he was just doing like his own workout. He wasn't like really killing himself with it. But I was like, man, he's so productive. He's getting through so much stuff. Meanwhile, he's snapping pictures with people and he's talking and he just keeps going through this circuit and everything. And it was just really cool to watch. But I was thinking, man, how cool would it be to podcast with those two guys and ask them like, what does it take? What does it take to be a champion? What does it take? Rich Froning did it a slightly different way. He was a 4-time champion. I think Matt Frazier is going on 3. But Rich is married and has a few children. And even the last CrossFit Games that he won as an individual athlete, he's like on the plane. Like we were just talking about Brian, going to these shows with his kids, and that might be something that is stressful. Possibly, I don't know his situation, but I would imagine it would be stressful for me if I was trying to win a world championship and I had a bunch of babies with me. It'd be tough. But here's Rich Froning on the plane, holding his infant child, and his wife is next to him with their other kid that's under the age of 3, and he goes out to the CrossFit Games and whoops up on everybody again. And then now he's retired and he does the team events. Mm-hmm. And he still wins. Yeah, his team wins every year.
That's crazy. So if I found the right one on an 8-minute clock, as many reps as possible, but it's 25 toe to bars, 50 double unders, 15 squat cleans at 135 pounds, 25 toe to bar, 50 double unders, 13 squat cleans at 185. And if you complete that before 8 minutes, you add 4 minutes, and then you do 25 toe to bar, 50 double unders, 11 squat cleans at 225. Finish that before 12, add 4 minutes, do 25 more toe to bar, 50 more double unders, 9 squats and cleans at 275. If you finish that in time, you add 4 more minutes, 25, 50, and then 7 squats at 315.
So he got to 315.
And he was doing it. Yeah, he was doing it like, he's just cranking through it.
And I like at the end of this, it says stop at 20 minutes.
No more.
Yeah.
End it.
It was people get too negative about these different forms of fitness, these different things that people try. And if you ever been around these high-level CrossFit people, it's amazing. It's outstanding to watch. And they're as serious about it as anybody else is serious about their aesthetics, or anybody else is serious about their strength training, powerlifting, Olympic lifting. The other people watching him, they're all encouraging him. And then on top of that, he's got a coach who's like, he's got like a notepad and he's like recording, the numbers he's getting. And this guy is like, down in the squat position, like watching every move that he makes. And it's a very serious thing. So I get annoyed sometimes when I hear the negativity. I understand, people don't always understand what the heck a CrossFitter's doing. Like why they jumping around so much, and why are they, standing on their heads.
Yeah.
But it's just a different form of fitness, and it's a great way to get in shape. The females that are in CrossFit, I don't think it's even a question. I don't think there's females in better shape.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I might be able to point out some women that do some track, and they would be comparable. The women that do sprints,
like visually, yeah. But like the question is, I don't think even sprinters, who look that way, at least if they haven't had experience, wouldn't be able to hang in some of those CrossFit workouts.
Most people can't.
Yeah.
Have you ever done any CrossFit stuff?
No, I haven't. And I'm not laughing as a joke. It's just like there was a time that I wanted to years ago, but
it'd be interesting.
It would be interesting, but I know it takes commitment.
I think you'd be pretty good at a lot of it. You're heavy though, so that's what I wonder. Like, you're in good control of your own body and stuff, so it's not like that would crush you, but it might be hard, like just because you weigh like what 240.
But like with anything, it would take me a long time to adapt, just like it took me a long time to adapt to the stress of jiu-jitsu and lifting. It took me a long time to be able to just like do that well.
Yeah.
Be the same thing with CrossFit. I wouldn't be able to pick it up immediately and be good, and I would have to be committed to get to the level that I'd want to be at. It's like with like, when I started jiu-jitsu, I started it so I could get really, really good. If I started CrossFit, it wouldn't just be for fitness. It'd be like, I want to get really, really good. I think that's my problem with certain aspects of fitness. It's like, if I do something, I want to take it there.
Right.
But CrossFit, man, all that running is the thing that gets me. That miles of running in between certain workouts. That'd be interesting.
Well, I was when I was at Rogue, I was benching and I was doing like 365, and I was just doing some sets and reps, and it just wasn't feeling great, so I didn't go any heavier than that. And Rich Froning's like, "You're just gonna keep using the weight that I use?" He's like, "You're not gonna go any heavier than that?"
Dang.
And I was like, it was funny because it's like, I'm not taking that bait, I'm not going to go over there and add weight. I've done what I've done, and I know that he's just trying to, get a rise from me, but it was awesome. I deserved it,
That's funny.
It was good, but like that guy's strong,
He's super strong.
I don't know if he can press 365, but I've seen him before handle 315 fairly easy. And he does a lot of powerlifting type stuff. I've seen him do floor presses before. I know that he actually for a while was routinely using floor presses because he liked the movement, because it wouldn't get too deep into his chest and wouldn't make him too sore. And a lot of these guys and girls, they're super open to learning about strength. While I was in there, I was like, I felt like a dork because I'm like, I want to get everybody together for a picture. They're like, we want a picture with you, and I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know if they know who I am. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I'm in a different world than they're in. I follow what they do, but they're clearly following what a lot of us do. A lot of power. They follow a lot of powerlifting. They follow a lot of strongman. And they were even asking questions, about like deadlifting and about squatting and about, it's like, well, no wonder why these guys and girls are so good. And no wonder why they're so fit. They are open to learning anywhere they can be, which we should all be, right?
Yeah.
We've talked before about kind of the white belt mentality, right? This idea of, it's great that you know a lot of stuff, but to acquire, all which is knowable is going to be a life journey. You're never going to know it all. Cassio, who can whoop up on just about anybody over at your at his jiu-jitsu school, he is a know-it-all, right? He knows a lot.
Yeah.
He knows a lot more than you do, right? And he knows a lot more than many of the people in there, and maybe knows more than a combination of everybody put together, but he still doesn't know it all. And even like Hoist Gracie, multiple-time UFC champion and sort of the godfather of jiu-jitsu in some way here in the United States, even he doesn't know it all.
Yeah.
Right? You got to have this understanding and this idea that you don't know it all, and you should be open to something, something else that somebody else might suggest to you.
Most definitely. And I think that the hardest thing about that is putting yourself around people that do know more than you, or wanting to put yourself around people that know a lot more than you.
Yeah, so you're not just the top dog.
Exactly. That's why I found like my biggest jump in strength came when I first started coming here to train. And I guess the thing that allowed me to progress that way was really not having an ego about not being as strong as some guys in here, or even when I got stronger in a certain lift in here, still wanting to talk to certain guys that I knew may have a little bit more technical knowledge, even though they might not be as strong as a lift as I am, to see what they see about that lift, and I think that's been like my biggest, I guess, strength when it comes to progressing at certain things. I'm always asking questions. And I don't care if like I'm asking too many questions. Like over at Cassio's school, when he's teaching technique, if I have to ask 2 or 3 questions to get something right, even if people are waiting there, I'll do it. And it's just because like I know that I think people are scared of asking questions because they're scared of what everyone else around them thinks about them asking a certain question.
Right.
They'll be like, oh wow, everyone thinks I'm dumb, or everyone thinks I'm not getting this. That's fine, but if you need to ask more questions to understand something, you're going to get it much better than everybody else. Even when you get to a high level of something too, still being open to taking criticism or, I guess, advice from the other people around you who may be better and potentially may not be better. I think that's where that whole thing, lies. I even see you, getting tips from certain people in terms of like your deadlift, even though you've been doing this, or certain movements, even though you've been doing this for tons of years. And that's huge. That'll just allow you to get to mastery of whatever it is at a much faster pace. But even when you're there, you still have a lot more to learn. There's a lot there.
I think asking questions is a way to really advance your career in a lot of ways. No matter what it is you're doing, it shows other people that you care, and it maybe you're not even asking a question to advance yourself. Maybe you're just asking a question because you're curious on like what the other person likes to do. But asking questions is a really important thing. Obtaining knowledge about what somebody likes to do, what's their favorite movie, all these things, they're all things that will help you advance, because at least it shows that you give a shit. And in this case, we're kind of more talking about like fitness and that kind of stuff, and maybe even advancing in your career and being able to make more money. But once you start asking questions that way, then I already know, Nsima's like inquisitive, like he cares, so like when you go to do a deadlift, I might be watching you more. Maybe other people that you've asked questions to in the gym, maybe now they're all invested in watching you because they have an understanding that you care because you took the time to ask a couple questions.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the same thing with like, it's a little off topic, but even investing your time into somebody in either A, helping them, or B, just encouraging them. Just putting your hands together and clapping for somebody when they're about to go. Hey, let's go. You can do it. You may not even want to be vocal. That might not be you. Like you might not feel that comfortable with that. But that's where you go outside of yourself a little bit and say, this isn't for me. This is for them. And this is the support. Like, I'm hoping that people are watching me when I go. I hope they're making some noise for me when I go. I hope they're cheering for me. Who knows? It might be that little tiny thing that helps. Maybe somebody tells you something right before you hit the platform, and it just eases your mind a little bit, helps you concentrate on what's important, and you nail the lift. So all these things are little cheats, little secrets into advancing yourself.
Uriah, Uriah Faber. Everyone knows who he is, right?
Yeah.
So Cassio used to work with Uriah when Uriah first started jiu-jitsu way early on. And Cassio always mentions how Uriah was literally the most inquisitive person he's ever worked with. Even though Uriah had a really deep wrestling background before he started jiu-jitsu, when you start jiu-jitsu, it's very different from wrestling. So every time Uriah would roll with somebody, whether it was an upper belt or lower belt, he'd always ask questions after that roll. Every single roll. Doesn't matter if he beat them or not. He'd always ask questions. What did you notice here? What did you notice here? What did you notice here? And that's the difference between him and a lot of other athletes. Like, you see where he ended up in terms of the UFC. You see what he's been able to build. And that's because, like, he's had that mentality all through his athletic career. He probably also has that as far as business too. Mm-hmm. But being extremely inquisitive and trying to figure out every possible way to get better, looking around you and seeing what other people notice about what you do, no matter what their point of view may be extremely helpful towards progression. So it's learning how to, like, not be insecure about asking questions, not being scared of doing that. And if you can't necessarily, because I know not everybody, for example, as far as the gym goes, you can't always find a gym where everybody's stronger than you. Then you might just have to pull a Bryce Lewis. You know how Bryce Lewis is, like, he's super strong and he trains in his garage all the time, but he's always obviously figuring out what he can do to improve in terms of strength, etc., on his own.
Maybe he's even just asking himself questions.
Exactly. Like, right? you have to be able to, if you can't get it from other people, you got to be willing to seek out that information. And, like, if you are the best in the room, then you have to be the one to always seek that information out for yourself. I think that's harder in itself to have to do that on your own without other people around you. But you're going to have to do that.
Well, a lot of the answers are within. If you really just ask someone, hey, like, what are 2 or 3 things you think you should do? I've learned this from some really high-level people that have just executed really well in business. They're the kind of people you'll get around, and they make you feel so dumb because you'll ask a question, and then they'll just answer your question with another question. They'll basically say, oh, Nsima, okay, so you want to double your income from last year. You want to do that over the next 2 years. Okay, cool. So what are 3 things that you think you should do to do that? And then you'll say, well, I could probably be more organized. I could, A, B, C, right? You'll have 3 answers probably pretty quickly. I could maybe in order to make the money that I want, maybe I have to go to jiu-jitsu less, and maybe there'd be a couple things, right? And boom, you're done. And then my response would be, well, you should go do that. That'd be great. And the answers all came from within. And a lot of times we at least sort of know the answers. The problem is we got that other side of our brain that just talks you out of everything all the time. Because then you're like, well, yeah, I could do that, but then somebody else said this, so I should try it this way.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I could go to jiu-jitsu less and make more money because I could put more time into a couple other things, but no, I like doing it this way. But then you're talking yourself out of, it's like it's either the priority or it's not, or it's secondary, right? So then you have to try to make a decision on where it lies. But the main thing here is just to keep at the front of your mind is that you should always be learning. You should always want to learn new shit. I'm either lifting, in a meeting, or I have headphones on pretty much all day, or with my family. Pretty much all day long. And I'm not just like, well, I'll listen to music here and there, but I'm not just listening to music. I'm usually listening to something that will give me information. Sometimes it's more stuff that I want to listen to, but a lot of times it's heavy shit that I don't want to listen to. But I'm like, I know in here there's going to be a crumb. There's going to be a crumb in here. There's going to be some little silver lining in here that I can find, that I can use, that can help me out, or that can help me help somebody else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, this is boring as shit. Some of the stuff I listen to is awful. And I'm like, I don't want to listen to this, or I don't want to listen to this audiobook, but I know that it's good for me. So the trick is to try to balance out between the things that make you happy versus the things that have the opportunity to make you great versus the things that can just make you better. How do you don't always want to be so obsessed with, great, because that's, who even knows what that means.
Yeah.
Then you got to kind of determine, okay, well, what does that even mean? But let's just say better. Let's just say you want to be better. And to even say you want to be better than yesterday may be too big of a burden. Like that might be too much of a responsibility. But how about you just work on being better overall over a period of time? Whatever period of time you want to be better than you were last year. That might be a little easier to consume than because if you try to be better at everything each day, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
You try to be better, a better person in your relationship. You try to be a better leader. You try to be a better coach. You try to be a better son. Now it's like, okay, well, we're really piling up a lot of stuff, and maybe we should just start out with something a little bit more simple. I'm just going to gravitate more towards the things that are going to make me better rather than just the things that make me happy. Things that make you happy might be things that are entertaining, going to a movie, going off your diet plan. And then there's other things you can get into, which would be like drinking or porn or some of these things that are like, they're kind of quick fixes, but they're all part of, they're not all part of everyone's life, but they're all things that are enticing, things that are like there. Then things that are always, but if you spend all your time, whacking off, you're not going to be. And basically, I mean, you can kind of look at it even further. But if you spend all your time like fantasizing, then you're not really in reality, and you're not really working towards the things that you should be working towards. You're not really putting in the work. You're just sitting there thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're the distractions, right?
Yeah.
If you spend your time being distracted, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Then that's tough.
Yeah.
Because everything's distracting.
Yeah.
There's a hard balance there, like, especially when you're thinking about wanting to be great at something or wanting to get much better at something. A lot of times that, and it's not necessarily even bad if it becomes an obsession, right? But you could really just like gas yourself out. And then, when people are heading towards those goals, when I'm heading towards those goals sometimes, I'll just find myself just sometimes exhausted and like I just have to take a day or whatever and just like, recharge with that. So, you got to find a balance. Just like when you were talking about Matt Frazier, when he was, how impressive it was to see how he was able to handle himself during that workout in terms of knowing where he needed to stop, knowing where he needed to rest, knowing when he needs to kneel down, figuring that out for yourself, like knowing when you got to, put your foot on the gas, knowing when you got to slow down just for a little bit so you can recharge and you can have the energy to keep going at it. That's, it's a very difficult, balance for people to figure out, but everybody's different when it comes to that. Some people can just go and go and go and go and go. And we all want to be like that, but we might not be able to all be like that individual. There's different ways that we can go about it that we got to figure out for ourselves.
How many hours a day can you realistically dedicate day in and day out to being better at jiu-jitsu?
Me personally, like two and a half hours.
Yeah,
As
that sounds very reasonable. Like if you were to say, 6 hours, 8 hours, maybe that's, so maybe you spend an hour or two at jiu-jitsu, like physically at jiu-jitsu, and maybe you spend an hour, half hour watching some videos. And if you start to spend a lot more time than that, then it starts to consume and impede upon some of the other things that you have in your life. And maybe that causes more stress and doesn't even make you better anyway. Also, too, if you're not getting the sleep, and there's a lot of research that backs this up, if you're not getting the sleep that you need, you're not even really learning and really truly absorbing all the stuff that you just practiced.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll know it and absorb it something to the effect of like 60% better if you're just getting proper rest, which is like, it's probably a little different for each person, but I would say, 8 hours is what most people are probably looking for. And on top of that, maybe occasionally even getting a nap.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of research showing some sleep before and after. don't know if you ever messed around with that, but it might be something to play with. Is Michael Walker, right?
Matthew
Walker, yeah, the sleep guy. He talked about getting some sleep before and after. Might be something to mess with for jiu-jitsu, like
right after the session.
I don't know if it has to be like right after.
So the idea behind it is it helps push things from short-term memory to long-term memory. So when you learn something and then you take a nap, it kind of forces it to go into the whatever part of your memory bank.
He talked about it as if you were like literally like clicking on something and dragging it into a folder.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really good. But yeah, so like with
I could send you like one of the clips about it.
So with Jasmine, like when she has a test or something, she'll study for it, and then we make her go take a nap, and then she takes the test after her nap, and she does way better.
Why did I forget about this? I used to do that in high school and college all the time. I don't know why I stopped doing it.
Oh, great.
Well,
all the time.
I never thought about that during exercise, though. Like, I always knew that it was like good for retention of stuff, but I never thought about that for exercise and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's really awesome.
So I'm going to hit a bench, take a nap in between sets, and come back.
Mike O'Hearn, I mean, he does that. I mean, wakes up at 3 and trains at 4, and he's in the gym from 4 to 6, and he goes back and he eats. He has like a big old protein shake, and then he eats food, and then he just takes a nap, and it's like maybe there's more to it than, him just waking up early and being a maniac. Maybe there's some really restorative things that are happening. Maybe he's like locking, quote unquote, locking in the gains. You mentioned how, these things are going from short-term to long-term memory. Well, maybe it's possible that these things are going from being things that stimulated your body for this short period of time that help burn calories. But now, because you're recovering and maybe putting your hormones in a good balance, maybe you can retain 1%, 2%. I mean,
locking in the pump.
Wow, right? Like that could really, what if you could lock in 2% more in every workout?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what's possible, but it sounds to me like that's what Matthew Walker is pointing out is like that these things can work that way.
That'd be dope.
I need to finish that book. I have it. I've only gone like a third of the way through.
Oh man,
put it down for something else, but I got to finish that book.
It's so good.
On that topic of books, I'm somebody that I don't like to read, right? But you can consume everything that you want to consume through YouTube. And so recently I've been watching a lot of Matthew Walker stuff, and I'm not against books by any means. If you want to read and you love reading, then go at it. I just struggle with reading. My retention for reading is not great. If I hear something, it's a little bit better. And for some reason, if I hear something and it's got music to it, it's even better. Just the way my brain works. And if I take notes on it, now I'm even doing even better. And if I take notes on it and I go back and read those notes, now I'm really in the driver's seat and I'm going to remember some of these things. But all these things are consumable via YouTube. And so if you want to look up something specific, if you wanted to just search, like use YouTube as a search. Don't use Google. Google's crap. I mean, people are just paying to get to the top of the list, And I'm sure they're doing the same thing on YouTube. I think they're owned by the same company or whatever. But the point is like if you type in Matthew Walker, you type in long-term memory, you'll get 3 or 4 videos that are probably just 15 minutes each. You can say, I'm going to watch this one. I'm going to watch these 2 for today. It's a half an hour of work. It's a half an hour of consuming something for the day. Oh, I heard, Nsima and Mark, talking about flexible dieting. I'm going to look up flexible dieting by Lane Norton. Oh, look at that. There's 2 videos. Both of them are 15 minutes. It's a half an hour. It's not going to take you very long. And if you listen to something and you're not digging it and it's not vibing with you, shut it off. Right? Whereas a book, I feel like, I personally feel a little bit more trapped by it. I feel like, man, I got to really pay attention and I got to really focus and hone in on it. I'm not the kind of person that a lot of people are, though. A lot of people will sit down with a book and it's like relaxing for them, almost meditative maybe. And, maybe depending on the type of book that they have, it helps take them to places that they otherwise wouldn't be able to go. And it's like an adventure and stuff like that. But for me, this doesn't work that way. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on YouTube and it.
No, yeah. I agree with you. Like first off, it's really cool that you were able to figure out the best way that you do learn it, because a lot of people do think that, if I want to learn about all these things, I could go pick up a book and read it. And some people that's just not fun. But
a lot of books just stay on the shelves, right? Like you're saying you didn't finish it, right?
I didn't finish it. I only went through a third of it so far.
You kind of half-ass everything in life, Natty Professor.
Aw. Oh, by the way, my Instagram name is Nsima Inyang now. It's just my name. But back to the subject. There's no hidden reason behind that, by the way, Mark. I knew your brain was gonna go there.
There's kind of a reason behind it.
All right, I'm gonna come back to what we were just mentioning about the book thing. Okay. I'm going to remember to come back to this. So the reason why I changed my IG name from the Natty Professor to Nsima Inyang, it is because of the creatine. It's just because we had this conversation. When you have Natty in your name, people automatically think you're not Natty. And I don't want everybody that comes across the name to be like, he's blah, blah, blah. So I just rather, I'm still a Natty, but I'd rather just have you look at the information.
Formerly known as the Natty.
He'll be a symbol pretty soon.
I'd rather have people just look at the information and take the information rather than focusing on whether I'm Natty or not. I'll tell you I'm Natty if you believe
Natty
me.
or not, here I come.
It doesn't matter. That's it. It's just my name. Plus now, people know my name instead. My name's not easy, but just Nsima, it's easy.
I think it had a lot more to do with the fact that there was a couple beers going around the hotel room. It was like 2 a.m. and then Nsima was just laying down on the bed with his phone over his head. I think it hit your head, or was that someone else?
Yeah, no, my phone hit my head.
Yeah, he dropped it right on his face, and it was a loud thump. But then, so this was the last night of the Arnold. Our flight was at I think 6 a.m.
Oh, you guys got killed.
Yeah.
So and then that was terrible, but. We're still up, and he's like, guys, I think I'm gonna change my name, and then we're all just like, just do it, man, just do it right now. We all we had a little bit of the confidence sauce in us, a little bit, and so just do it, and then it's like, damn, guys, it's like 3 a.m. We got to wake up in 1 hour to get out of here. Like,
what an awful feeling, right?
It was I mean, it was fun hanging out, but that whole next day, and then with the delays of the flight, it was but so I think that's what it was, not nothing you just said. Just disregard everything.
No. I mean, I've been wanting to change it for a while. It's just my name. It's not a big deal. It's just my name.
And that's what I told you, because I'm like, I remember you brought this up a while ago, and like, so how long have you been thinking about it? And you said, some time now. So I'm like, dude, then I mean, shit. Just like what Mark was saying, you had the answer within. Like, shit, just do it. And,
oh man, yeah.
So it's cool that it's your actual name.
Just my name.
Yeah.
Nsima Inyang. But yeah, back to the book thing, because that took a little dovetail. There's so many actual cool channels on YouTube that take large books and give you very just the big summaries from these books. And if you're really trying to get the information from some of these books, or the big concepts that are going to affect you the most, you don't have to read the whole thing. You can legit go to a 10-15 minute video that will give you all of the big concepts to take away from the book. And if you can utilize those, great. You don't have to read all of those books. So that's the cool thing about it. It's just there's so much long form and short form information out there for you to find. You just got to figure out what works best for you to intake, and what works best for your time. Maybe you don't have the time to read a 400-page book, or you don't you're not going to finish it quickly. Mm-hmm. So just go find yourself a good summary on it, and take it away.
Yeah. You know who asked a lot of questions is Ed Cohn, Jay Cutler, and Ron Penna. They'll just Ron Penna is one of the original founders of Quest Nutrition and this huge ass company. Ed Cohn, obviously one of the greatest powerlifters of all time. Jay Cutler, one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. Jay Cutler is he actually asks more questions than anybody I ever met in my life. He just hammers you with questions.
What kind of stuff does he ask? Did he ask you?
He just, I don't even know if he knows he does it. But he asks you a lot. He'll ask you about your diet. He'll ask you about your training. And I think he he has his own kind of theories on nutrition and stuff, and he asked a lot about a keto diet. He asked a lot about intermittent fasting, and the last conversation we had, he asked a lot about lower carb, because this is a guy that would eat 1,000 carbs a day back in his heyday. And I was like, yeah, I just don't think I think that carbohydrates are a great like weapon, but I think that in general, I think most people could probably use a lot less of them, and they'll have like a really good impact when you kind of like reset your body and you start to pull away, some of this, processed foods and sugars and things like that. And I said, and if you're somebody that's already eating healthy, I think that you'll probably quickly realize you can probably run on a little bit less carbs. I can't make that blanket statement for everybody, but I just think in general, I think a lot of people would find that they're like, wow, I'm only having 200 carbs a day or 100 carbs a day, and things are still going pretty good. And I think on top of that, I think people can probably add a little bit of fat, because now we got to kind of replace some of this energy, source. And he was like, man, he's like, years ago, he's like, I would think that was total bullshit, but he's like, I'm starting to kind of, see some of that, myself. And he's like, this is just what worked for me in my bodybuilding. I was, consuming these enormous amounts of carbs, but he's like, my stomach was always bothering me. And he had multiple awesome poop stories on the podcast. Mm-hmm. But he asked a ton of questions. So even just, how's your brother doing? How your parent, he follows all this stuff. And it's just, I don't know. It's ridiculous to me. I'm like, this is Jay Cutler. Like, he's like an idol of mine, and same with Ed Cohn. Ed Cohn always asks, like, Ed Cohn is a lot more, like sensitive. He's more personable. He like really cares about, not that Jay Cutler doesn't, but Ed Cohn really cares about people. And so Ed Cohn's questions are very rarely going to be about lifting.
Yeah.
Of course that comes up because that's his passion, but he's always like, how's your brother? How's your mom? How's your dad? How are your kids? Kids doing, he'll look you in the eye and really ask you, like he really cares, but he's not asking and then like thinking of a bunch of other shit. He's asking and he's listening.
Yeah.
And that's another key factor, is if you're going to be asking questions, a lot of people go up to a guy like Nsima, he's in great shape, and they'll be like, hey man, like, I just want to lose some body fat. What do I got to do? And then as soon as he says, well, here's, 5 steps. Well, once he's into step number 1, you're already checked out because he didn't tell you about like some fat burning supplement or whatever, right? That happens a lot. And people will say, well, here's what I do. And it's like, well, I don't care what you do. You asked me how you thought you should go about losing some weight. I'm trying to give you advice. And now you're telling me what you do for it, which is not working, mm-hmm. which is the reason why you asked me in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So people need to actually listen and pay attention too.
Yeah. All these questions, it's like, it's just like when you take that answer, it's like you have a filing cabinet. I think that's also why, like, all these individuals you mentioned, they do ask so many questions, because I wouldn't say that it's, maybe some things they don't know, but they're just like probably thinking of all this information and finding correlations between certain things that work. I never thought a few years ago, learning about like flexible dieting and macros, etc., and hearing about keto a few years ago, I never thought it'd be something I'd ever consider as being a viable, dieting concept. And I think there were times I could think of that I was more closed off to, let's say, learning about different diets, because I thought this is the way to go. This is the way that all people should do it. And I did pigeonhole myself in that way, but it is like with all these different diets, there's so many different ways to do to get the same result. And being open, especially I think people that are from the flexible dieting community, we need to be a lot more open to a lot of these different diets and see how they can work for different individuals. Because the whole higher carb flexible dieting deal that typically people do doesn't and shouldn't work for everybody. And there's just so much that's not known about nutrition already that you need to be open, and you need to be just like open to taking different anecdotal stories from people and to understand why it works. Like Saladino that was on with the carnivore thing, you got to be open to all those anecdotes and seeing why they work, and because maybe that could work much better for somebody else who maybe has IBS and is eating excessive amounts of carbs. Maybe carnivore would be the best type of deal for them. But taking that evidence, not just from research and utilizing it, it's going to be, I think it's hard for a lot of us, me, myself too. It used to be, but I'm becoming more open to that. I think the biggest thing also is when you think I used to, and I still think I have a decent handling on my nutrition and the nutrition of my clients, but when you feel that you're an expert on something, you tend not to be as open to wanting to learn more things. It's when you realize that you're not really an expert, or when you allow yourself to believe that you're not that great at something all the time. I think that's something that's really beneficial.
I think we've only been maybe doing this podcast with you on here for a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
like a month.
Yeah, I don't know how long.
I
Yeah,
think
maybe
even
like a month.
handful of episodes, we'll say.
Yeah.
I think even in that time, I've noticed that your mind has opened up to some other possibilities. Like even just when we had some of the different people on the show and when we had conversations, I think you've kind of been like, oh, like I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that side of things. And I think that's an important value just in our society. So it's to like understand each other. And I think that we have a tendency, like when we don't understand something, you get like mad about it, which doesn't really make it. It's like, that's so irrational. It's so irrational to, not understand somebody else's culture and then you're mad about it. Like, why would I be mad that somebody's kneeling in the corner praying to some doll? Like, it has nothing to do with me. That's their own thing they got going on, right? Like, maybe I'm not cool with it, but to be like violent towards it, like that's where it starts to get crazy. Or you see like when it comes to nutrition, you see all the comments, or when it comes to fitness. I think I saw Chris Duffin a couple days ago posted a picture just of his like body. He's like, I'm getting in better shape again, or something like that. And then somebody was like, you have a horrendous physique. And I was just like, and maybe this is a guy that's like, I don't know, follows people that have a more aesthetic body and have a smaller waist and bigger shoulders. So I don't even know.
Yeah.
But it was just like, it's like, man, like that's just completely negative. It's just and yeah, look, he looks
He's jacked.
Yeah, he looks amazing. And so it's just, I don't understand, why we have that side of us. It's super annoying, and I see it happen in too many different areas, in our culture.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I didn't get to run into Janae Kroc at the show at the Arnold, but she was there, and I was part of the movie. The movie's called Transformer. You can check it out on Netflix. I do wish the movie would have explained more stuff about that community and about like the different terminology, because I'm so naive to a lot of these things. I don't even know the different terminology, but I think that there's some people that don't care to know, right? There's some people that are just like, no, like fuck that. That's gross. I ain't part of that. And there's some people that they just don't want to know. Mm-hmm. There's some people that just want to be racist. There's some people that just want to be against people being gay. And that's the way they are. But I think that our society is in a pretty good spot where a lot of people, especially younger people, they want to understand. I want to know. Like, I don't know what it's like to be black. I don't know what it's like to be Mexican. I don't know what it's like to be born a boy and want to be a girl. I don't know anything about it. I also don't know the terminology. So I wish that this movie, I thought the movie was good. I thought it was a good, it showed a lot of what Janae Kroc has went through to going through this entire process. But I also wish that like it explained some of the terminology and some of the different just things that go on, because I don't even know like what a lot of it means. When they say transgender, or they say gender fluid, or now there's all these abbreviations associated with it and stuff too. So I was kind of hoping that the movie would have a little bit more of a tone of like just explaining and presenting like, here's some of these facts, and then let you kind of determine your own take of it. Either one of you guys seen the film at all?
I haven't seen it. I only saw the previews for it.
Yeah, no, I just found out it was on Netflix, so I want to check it out. So we'll see.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about some of that stuff? I mean, like, I'll just be totally transparent. Like, I'm a little weirded out. Like I've been friends with Matt Kroc, right? I'm a little bit weirded out by seeing like Janae is fucking big, So I'm a little bit weirded out. Mm-hmm. Seeing my old friend as a female, and being like imposing, being so jacked, right? Mm-hmm. It's different for me. I'm not against it. It's just kind of shocking to me. I'm like, whoa. Like, hey, like if Andrew came in dressed as a girl,
Yeah.
I would be like, whoa, like what's going on here?
You just got
hot.
a raise.
Yeah, you look hot as fuck, but so like we're talking about, being open-minded and closed-minded, and that's kind of why some of this kind of popped in my head. What are some of your thoughts on this?
I mean, it definitely, when I seen the Power magazine cover of him her,
right.
skipping all of it, the only part that like just does concern me is I don't want to offend anybody.
Right.
I don't know, like I don't want to mess up the him, hers, or them, they.
Yeah.
And like I don't want to be a dick, but I also don't know how do I come out and say like what, like if I go up to somebody like, what do I call you? Like that sounds so rude. It's like I can't do it. But you're right. Like I'm just like I'm fine with anybody doing whatever they want. Like that's the great thing about this country is you can do whatever you want, but there are some people who are going to be dickheads to you. Yeah. But like with like my daughter, like I shot a gay wedding a couple years back, and I remember I wanted her to see me working on the photos. Like like this is a groom and this is another groom. Like they're in love. Like, and that's fine. This is totally okay. And like, she was just like, huh? Like, she didn't understand it at first, but she was just young because, it was supposed to be, guy and a girl get married. That's how you have a wedding.
Right.
But I'm like, no, like I wanted her to be exposed to it right away to know like, this is fine. Like, and you're going to see it more, when you,
your
when
friends
you grow
might
up.
have two moms or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And, it's not something to, to stare at or anything. It's just like, hey, they're going to have kids too, and they're going to be parents just like, me and your mom. And that was huge for me to be able to do that for her because, my parents, they're fairly old school. They're fine with it, but, they'll make comments and stuff.
But I think, so to make a comment to somebody in person is like disgusting. I think it's like over the top, right? Mm-hmm. But to have your own thoughts on it, and if you are kind of old school, I mean, it may not be right, but I think you're entitled to it because somehow, some way, whether it's wrong or whatever, you learn this shit habit, and it's unfortunate. And I don't think there's a lot of room in this world for that much hate, but I do think that like in the movie, Janae Croc's mom, while she's there, says, Matt died the day that you told me about all this. And it's like, oh man. Like that's some heavy stuff. But at the same time, like, you know what? I think the mom's entitled to think that way. Like she thought she had a son, and turns out, I guess she didn't. Right? And it's very confusing, and it's got to be very hard for everybody. So I think both sides need to be understanding of each other. Yeah, and I think that's how we can move forward.
Everybody's just different. I just go by. I generally try not to. I don't judge people on their decisions. If someone feels that they are something else, if someone like feels like they're a woman in a man's body, okay, they feel like they're a woman in a man's body. Don't go analyzing the psyche of this individual if that's how they feel. Let them do their thing, whether you agree with it or not, because they're just another human being trying to live their own specific existence, and that's how they feel that they need to live it. So all of this, I guess, hate and phobia over these people, like what are they doing to you? If you are truly, like I guess transphobic would be the term, what are they doing to you that's impeding upon your existence? Mm-hmm. Are they over here harassing you or something? No, they're just living their own life, which is why I frankly don't really understand the amount of hate that goes upon this group of people. And it's not the same thing, but what is it? It's been 70 years? It hasn't been that long, 60, 70 years since segregation. Mm-hmm. It hasn't really been that long, right? I think it hasn't been that long. It really hasn't been that long, right? So, we're going to be looking back at some of this and seeing how some people are acting towards these individuals, and think in a few decades, wow, it's kind of crazy how bad some of these people were being treated. And that's why, like you just mentioned, Jasmine, a lot of this stuff's going to be normal to her. Yeah. It's abnormal to some of us since we haven't lived through it in childhood, but in a few decades, it's going to be normal to those kids seeing a lot of this stuff. So, I mean, it's just let people do their thing. That's their life. Don't don't go and putting your moral views up upon it. And that's coming from, I'm a Christian. I grew up in I grew up going to church. I still go to church. I'm a Christian. I have love for everybody. Just because my religion doesn't agree with certain things doesn't mean I don't have love for people and like support their decisions to do certain things.
Right.
And that's one thing, because a lot of people think, for example, Christians feel a certain way about things because they've heard Christians say things about gay homosexuals or trans people. And that's not most of us. Most of us just have love for people, you know what I mean? And just because the Bible says something doesn't mean we don't have love for people and let them do their own thing. So it's just I guess a difficult subject for people to talk about, just because everyone comes from, I don't know, everyone has their moral view. They've had things that they've been brought up being taught, and it's just let people live their own lives.
I think we're in a pretty, interesting time, though. I think people that are between the ages of like about 20 to 40 have a similar frame of mind where, they don't really care too much about, white, black, or otherwise. They also they're not offended or don't think anything weird about a white person being with a black person, or an Asian person being with a Mexican person, or people being homosexual, and then also even like on a political side of things, I think that people, you talk about like identifying with things, I don't think people even identify anymore with being like Republican or Democrat as much as they used to. Mm-hmm. Most of the country is like kind of down the middle on sort of everything. And you got kind of old school people who say, well, that's, you don't want people that are down the middle on it. It's going to, cause the whole world to, to burst into flames, which who knows, it could be the case. I don't know. But I think we're at a good time, and I hope that people can, better understand each other. I had a friend the other day who said something. It was just like, it just kind of blew my mind. She's Asian. She's married to an African American. She's having children. So while she's been dating this guy and they're married and stuff, it took her parents like 3 years to get used to and to be comfortable with him being African American.
Yeah.
At first they dated and it wasn't that big of a deal, but then as they progressed, they were like, well, what if you have children? She's like, well, what if we have like we're in love? Like, I want to have children. Like, this is the best guy I ever met. He's the kindest guy I ever met. And then a lot of the stuff that they would say would be like, yeah, they're like, we're surprised. He's really cool for a black guy. She was like, can we leave that? She's like, do you guys not understand? Like, you guys have been on the other side of racism yourself.
Yeah.
She's like, do you not understand? But they just didn't even know, like, they're ignorant. They haven't rubbed elbows enough with other cultures to know. Mm-hmm. It sucks. It's unfortunate. But what she said that on Martin Luther King Day, her husband said, hey, we should celebrate Martin Luther King Day. And she was like, cool. She's like, all right. And she didn't ask why or anything. She just said, okay, sounds fun. And then they went out to eat, and he said he toasted and said, we wouldn't be together if it wasn't for him. Legally, like we might not be able to get married.
Yeah.
And she's like, I almost cried because she's like, I didn't eat. She's like, I'm so dumb. I didn't even think about it. But he's like, he's fucking right. Yeah. If it wasn't for him, we probably legally wouldn't be able to get married still, or who knows where we'd be,
Yeah.
So all that stuff is really interesting to me. And I hope people can find some more even ground, because we're all human beings. Everyone feels happy. Everyone feels sad. Everyone feels mad. Everyone feels all these different emotions. And in the end, we all are born and we all fucking die. It's all very similar for all of us, no matter where we come from.
Yeah, this is a tough question to ask, but his name's Jason. He just asked it. If you didn't know Matt before or after, like, what do you think you would have felt like seeing the transformation? Like, I mean, is there any way you could simulate how you would feel about it if you didn't know her?
I'm from a very like small town, like small city,
Mm-hmm.
like, so I haven't been exposed to a lot of these things. I mean, I'm somebody who doesn't mind being very like open about my feelings. Like, if I see two guys kissing, I'm still uncomfortable with it. Like, and I don't know, like, Maybe I'm, maybe I'm abnormal for that, or maybe more people feel like I do, but they just don't say it. I feel as uncomfortable with that as if I see somebody missing an arm. Like I'm going to kind of look at it and be like, oh, like shit, the guy's missing. And then I don't know how to act after that, right?
Yeah.
I haven't been exposed to a lot of these things when I was young. The school that I went to, we had one black kid in the school. From the time I was in elementary school all the way through, it was the same kid, the entire time. I had like 2 or 3 Asian kids in my class, and the rest was all just white hillbillies, pretty much. And so that's my upbringing. That's what I know. My grandfather was racist. I've heard him use the N-word countless times. I'm not proud of that, but that's just, again, I'm not afraid to be transparent and just to be open. So I kind of was a little sheltered towards some of that stuff. So to even being friends with Matt, it's still weird to me. It's still strange to me. However, I'm not against it. I'm for it. And whether I knew her before or whatever, I would still feel the same way. I'd still be for it. Like I wasn't exposed to these things when I was young, but as I got older and as I got exposed and seen more things, I was like, well, this doesn't make any sense to act this way towards other people. Like there's no truth based in any of this. There's no, the things that people thought about African Americans or the things that people thought about Hispanics. I'm like, this is ridiculous. There's absolutely no truth to any of this. Same thing with the things that we thought about. I mean, how many times we're going to do this? Same thing. The same things we thought about women. Like women shouldn't be able to vote. Like, really? Like what? That was a thing. Like that's embarrassing. Yeah. Like that's complete. To me, it's completely embarrassing. But it is part of our history. It is part of where we're at. But yeah, either way, I'd be supportive of Janae either way.
Yeah. I thought that was a great question. And
it is a great question.
Yeah, just because it was a good question. Same guy. He wanted to shout out someone else named Jason who has a meet 6 weeks out from now, but I figured he earned it because that was a dope question. So good luck to your buddy Jason.
Yeah, go get it, buddy.
Yeah. All right, what else you guys got?
Yeah, last thing I want to end with is, again, these amazing conversations I got, at the booth and just the different people I've heard from. I know you guys heard from a lot of people mentioning they were impacted by the podcast and losing weight and stuff. And one of the guys brought up the fact that he's just very insecure and he wasn't really sure on how to get like momentum and how to feel stronger and how to feel better. Andrew, I think that you would be good to answer some of these questions. Like, what were some things that that got you started, and not only started, but like ignited enough to continue and to keep going?
Yeah. Well, damn, I wasn't expecting that. I mean, because
you're fired up now. Like there's no turning back for you now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shit, dude. I'm not gonna lie. Like when somebody gives me a compliment, I'm still like looking for the camera. Like, okay, who's setting me up right now?
Because like being punked.
Yeah, exactly. Like, somebody came up to me today. Who was it? But we had posted a picture. We trained at Matt Wenning's gym, and we did a group photo. And he's just like, "Man, your arm looked jacked." And I was just like, "Thanks, dude. Like, appreciate it, man. Like, yeah, I'm working."
Like, all right, where's Smokey?
Yeah, I'm like, did he put you up to this? Yeah, so, it was Josh. That's who it was. Intern Josh. And so like that gives me huge motivation. Yesterday I had a abbreviated back workout, but I had like a pretty good lat pump. I was gonna take a shower and I took my shirt off and I was like, I try to like flex,
Damn, yo, who's that?
And then so right away I'm like, babe, get in here. I'm like, hurry.
I still do that to my wife. I'm like, you gotta check this out. There's a new vein.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, check this out. And like I got the light right, and like it just popped out so good, and she bit it.
She bit your lat?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So obviously that's a huge motivating factor right there.
Yeah.
But where it all started is I've always been the skinny guy. I've always been the guy who was super like unathletic, even though like I tried to play sports and stuff. But once I hit junior high, everyone was way bigger than me. And instead of like using that as motivation to push me right then and there, it pushed me the opposite direction. And you want to talk about insecurities? You're in junior high, everyone's bigger than you. You're about height wise, you're pretty good with everybody, but like skinny and awkward. Everyone at as a teen, you kind of have like the lengthy arms and stuff, and you're a little like, hunched over and stuff. So there was that, and then as I got older, I still didn't train. I didn't have any like guidance or anything like that. So like when I start like hitting the age where you're bar hopping and stuff, it's like, why the fuck is every time we go out, somebody's messing with me?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, because I was always the smallest guy at the bar, and so that was really frustrating. So I ended up taking some Muay Thai classes and stuff, but like I didn't like pursue it or anything, because what happened there, when you start sparring with somebody, oh, I want that guy. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to just go all out because I know he can't do shit to me. So that pushed me away from that too.
Yeah.
But once I started, like I found the gym, because I got with Stephanie, we did CrossFit first. And then once we actually got a gym membership, I started putting on size and I started feeling better. So some of the insecurities went away. But then when I look at the numbers that I was putting up versus like the smallest guy that I could see in the gym, just like, damn, that guy's lifting like twice as much as me.
Was there any like videos or books, or was there some like, did you check out like bodybuilding.com? Like, did you like find some information and that inspired you to kind of push forward?
Yeah. So we got involved with one of the like direct sales companies. So they had some things that were like helping with like supplements and stuff. That's what it was. It was just like selling supplements. So I found Rich Froning. So I would like just get all hyped up over CrossFit and stuff like that. But like I didn't love doing CrossFit, so I didn't pursue that at all.
Yeah.
So I went to YouTube.
Rich Froning's jacked.
Yeah, and he was super jacked. So I'm just like, man, whatever that guy's doing. I followed Elliot Hulse quite a bit.
Yeah.
CT Fletcher was the first guy that I would like.
CT Fletcher.
Right, you hear
He's
this all the
best.
time, right? Yeah. But I followed him for motivation, but for like instructions, it was yo Elliot.
Yeah.
Like trying to learn how to deadlift from him.
Yeah, he
Same
taught you
here.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a huge help. And then it was just who was I don't know if you guys have heard of Joseph Rakic.
Joseph Rakic?
Yeah.
Never heard of him.
I just randomly popped up on, I think, Instagram, or maybe it was YouTube.
Yeah.
And he was selling, fitness plans or whatever. And I mean, I knew nothing, right? Like there's probably like at that point, thousands of free ones that were better.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, whatever, screw it. Okay. It was like $100 for a year of like monthly, like alternating plans or whatever.
Yeah.
So I did that, and that's what really carried me on to like really falling in love with fitness.
Mm-hmm.
I would always get hurt. I would get into a good groove for like a month or two, and then like my back would start bothering me, and then like I give up. Like anytime I get momentum, like this is just me, this is my body, and I would give up on myself. Then photography would take off, and then that would slow down. Then fitness would pick up again. But as far as in-person coaching or training, there was nobody available.
Yeah.
I would ask around a little bit, but I was always real timid in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Like whenever somebody was lifting big, I would just be like, "Oh man, like how did you get to lift so much?" And I think because I was so timid, I would like whisper and like they couldn't hear me, and so like I'd be like, "Oh, that guy's just a dick. He doesn't want to talk to me." But it's like, well, you're not really being an open person to want to. Like nobody wants to hang out with that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was tough because I had nothing to offer them.
Did you get frustrated and like, because like lifting takes a long time like to show up, especially if you don't know much about like nutrition, especially if you kind of don't know how to train. So did you work out, and then be like not any different than I was, or were you making enough progress where you felt pretty good?
No, it was extremely frustrating because I have
like literally doesn't make any difference.
No.
If you can lift and it like you sometimes won't see anything unless the nutrition is there to support it.
Yeah, I have some before pictures when I first started, and that's the other thing. So I started going to the gym when I was 27. And I have pictures of me at 27. You're going to be like...
It's older than Natty Professor.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So imagine, never going to the gym to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Ever.
Yeah.
So that's the canvas that I was working with. But I mean, 160 if I was lucky at this height.
Okay.
And all 160 right in my stomach.
Yeah.
I was like skinny arms, skinny legs. But having zero like idea what the hell to do, at least early on, until I did buy that program, and then I had at least something to go off of, which was huge, but super frustrating because, like I said, I would see like a high school football kid would come in,
bench 315 for reps,
like nothing, And I'm just like, dude, I genuinely, like, I remember getting stuck under the bar at 95 pounds, like looking around like, help. It's just like, all right, now just come on, let's just go. And it fall right back on me. And so like
Jordan Peterson had the same story.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he got stuck under like 65 pounds.
Wow.
Something like that.
Yeah, he mentioned that once.
Yeah.
And then he just slowly, that he was talking about how like getting better at that helped him with a lot of other things too.
Now he benches 500 pounds.
I'm on my way.
GDP.
But yeah, then having to dump that weight, and of course, you know, when you dump the weight in a gym, everyone stops and looks at you. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, yep.
Do you think like this past year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this is the best like serious training you've had out of like your whole, how old are you, by the way?
So I'm 33 now.
33 now.
Yeah.
So like this past year, not in like full year compared to like your years of training before, is this the best year of training you've had so far?
Absolutely.
Because like I think I've seen the most growth out of you physically within like the past year.
Yeah.
And it's like you have all this progress you're going to be making.
Yeah.
Like how, in terms of that insecurity thing, do you feel that like that physical change that you're seeing now has helped you out a lot, or is it like how is that?
No, it absolutely has. Because another one of the biggest insecurity things, and I'm gonna get a lot of shit from this, but whatever. It's just what actually happened. You know, I'm with my girl all the time.
Mm-hmm.
If a dude sees a chick that's hot and he sees her man, and he's this like tiny fucking tetherball pole thing, she doesn't actually have a boyfriend at that point. So there'd be dudes that would come up to her and just like, I'm standing next to her and they just completely ignore me. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
So that was another driving factor. But now things are way different. You know, nobody looks, they still look, but then they see me now. So that's huge. You know?
A lot of that too is like, some of that might be going on, but it's so amplified in your own head because of your own perception of yourself outwardly, right? It's like, and then once you feel better, you know, once you feel more secure inside, then less of that like exists. Like maybe that happens to him and maybe that happens to me, but like maybe we don't even notice it. Because you feel you feel so comfortable. You're like, yeah, my girl's not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's actually,
she ain't gonna find anything better than this.
Yeah, no, that's actually that's very true. Actually, yeah. And then as far as like the physical weights themselves, like I mean, Mark can tell you how like in my own head I am. It's getting better, but early on it was just like, oh, I don't know, man. I don't think I can. Like, oh, I don't.
It's
like,
important to know though. Everybody is. It just depends on the weight, you know. So for somebody else, it might, you know, be a higher weight, but a lot of self-doubt's going to creep in, especially any negative reinforcement that you ever have with anything just creates more negative reinforcement to be sitting there. Mm-hmm. You know, you miss a lift you miss a deadlift because of like your grip. The odds of you missing the next deadlift because your grip are probably pretty high because you're like, oh, I tried that before and my grip gave out. Then you're thinking like, what have I done for my grip training that's going to...
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, yeah. Or last time I tried that, I hurt my shoulder. Mm-hmm. And then you're halfway down with the weight on the bench press and you're just like, take it, you know, because you told yourself that your shoulder hurt and now you're now you're screwed.
Yeah.
You're really screwed.
Yeah, having that doubt. I know training by myself a couple times, like closer to the SD Classic. Like, you know, I had some numbers because Mark gave me that I wanted to hit for whatever day it was. And I remember I got close to 300. It was a 295 deadlift. And I looked at it and I'm like, all right, let's do this. And I put my hands on the bar and I'm like, fuck, I don't know if I can do this. And I went for it and like, I missed it. And then I got sick and like just this whole like domino effect of things happened.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, why did I even like stop and question? Like I should have just let go of the bar and called it a day or something. Cause like it was bad. And so that's, you know, I'm always in my head. So being with Mark has definitely been the most beneficial thing, obviously, because, you know, most of the time he just calls the weight for me. Mm-hmm. But now that I kind of have a better understanding of where I'm at strength wise, I have the confidence to actually push myself, because before I didn't, and I would hit like a plateau, so I thought. Yeah. But it's just because I'm in my head thinking like, oh, like exactly what he said, like, you know, the last time I tried that, I couldn't push it or I couldn't pull it or I hurt something, whatever it is. But now it's like, no, I've done that. I can do more now. And that's been another thing because, as Mark will tell you, it spills out over into everywhere else in my life, which is huge.
You know what else is cool is like a lot of times, rather than him asking, he'll like halfway tell me / ask a question. So, you know, maybe like for a deadlift training session, he might say, you know, I was thinking about doing the trap bar, you know, because I haven't done it in a while, and I was thinking about going for, you know, trying to see what that feels like for today. And then I'll just give him a rep range to try to follow, you know. And so rather than like him saying, hey, what do I do? You know, he's like asking, like, he's got a couple suggestions because he already knows halfway at least what he should be doing. And then he might be like, okay, and then after that, I'll finish up with some hamstrings and a couple other exercises and maybe some lat work. And like, yep.
Yeah.
Check. Yep. There you go. You got it. And that's, you know, back to what we've said on previous podcasts about education, you know, coming from within, having to be drawn from within. And it's like, how are you going to ever truly learn anything unless it's kind of something that you're really attracted to and something that you are drawing from within. And back to what we said earlier in the podcast, like you probably know 2 or 3 really good ideas towards what are some things that can get you better? What are some things that can get you towards your goals? I would imagine that you know those 2 or 3 things better than anyone in the world, better than, you know, better than asking Gary Vaynerchuk or, you know, right? Better than asking anybody else in the world, better than asking your dad or your mom. I mean, those are great people to rely on too. Those are great people, great resources, and you should ask questions, but no one's going to know better than yourself. So it's like, what do you need to do to get bigger arms? I mean, you probably can list out a couple things pretty rapidly. What do you need to do to lose 15 pounds? Again, you probably know.
Yeah, I think it was Andy Galpin when he says that, you know, people come up to him like, oh man, I'm trying this diet and it's not working. And like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And he just stares at them and be like, okay, yeah. I guess, yeah, you know what? I haven't been hitting it at like 100%, but man, I'm close. Do you think I should do this or this? And he just stares at them and he's like, all right, yep, you're right. I'm going to go do this.
Well, he's just like looking at them and not saying a word.
Yeah, he just stares at them harder and harder.
Yeah. You know, it's just like, yeah, you know.
Honestly, that is the funniest thing I've heard all day.
Because I mean, he's so knowledgeable, right? So people want to go to him and ask for like, you know, advice on nutrition and whatnot.
Yeah.
But he just will sit there and stare at them, and he was like, they know exactly what the answer is. They just want somebody to tell them, you know, this way or that way. He's like, but they all know. He's like, they have it within them.
That's very true. A lot of time, like we are waiting for the person that we feel is more knowledgeable than us to tell us the thing that we already know so that we feel confident to go and do that thing.
Reassurance.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Like leading up to the ST Classic, I was having
because we have insecurities.
Yeah. I was having a hard time pulling the damn weight up off the floor. So I'm like, hey, Mark, is it cool if I do reverse bands? And meanwhile, I mean, we had never done reverse bands ever, this whole like meet prep. And he's just like, it's a good idea. And it was because I was insecure about my damn deadlifts. I wanted a little boost off the ground.
Yeah.
And it worked out really well.
A huge goal for everybody in each and every day that you have is to work on, like, your number one priority should be, how do I help myself feel really good for today? And sometimes, like in your strength training, in your goals to get leaner and stuff, you might need to figure out a way to like throw yourself some underhand pitches, make things like, it's great to make things hard and it's great to be disciplined. But if you're starting to find yourself, that's all that you're doing is always being so strict and so disciplined, it might be time for a little bit of a change. And in your lifting, it might be a good idea to, like, you're trying to get stronger in a squat and it's just not happening. You've been trying for 3 months and you're just stuck. Well, it would be a great idea just to forget about it in some sense and try some different things. Try some walking lunges. Try some higher rep squats with shorter rest periods. Try some bodybuilding for a few weeks. Try some leg presses and some different movements. Just get yourself away from that and figure out, what is something challenging enough that I can do that's still going to be fun. Maybe, you know, with Andrew's example, maybe you do a reverse band squat. Maybe you squat with some knee wraps on. Maybe you do some box squats that are like a little bit high, just so you can handle some weight, just so you feel whatever way it is that you're trying to feel. Same thing with a bench press. Maybe use a slingshot for a few weeks. In your effort to lose body weight, well, maybe you've been in a caloric deficit for 2 years. I know people that do that. People are just riding out these 1,800 calorie diets for the endless amounts of time. Maybe it's time to say, you know what? I'm gonna take you're not gonna die. Take a week off from your diet. Yeah. Sounds like forever when you've been strict for a while. Take a week off. You'll be surprised. You might even actually lose weight in that week. And by the time the week gets towards the end of the week, you're pretty much through most of the junk foods that you wanted to hit up anyway. And you'll probably start to be more reasonable with your food. But, try to figure out some things that are going to make you not necessarily just like happy, but make you feel good, put you in a good mood. And then you can get back to being strict, but get back to being disciplined and back to some of the things that we mentioned earlier, which was this kind of idea of, working on things that make you great, working on things that make you better, and not always just gravitating towards things that make you happy. But you're going to have to figure out a little balance with some of that. Like, what's something that's going to put me in a good mood? I know for me, instantly a good mood, hang out with my kids. Automatic. I mean, every once in a while, it might drive me crazy, but it's almost automatic because they're going to say something funny or they're going to say something off the wall. It's going to make me laugh. And it's like, okay, there we go. Boom. We're in a good spot. Now let's go for frozen yogurt, or let's go on a walk, or let's do this or that. And it instantly puts me in a good mood.
There you go.
What else you got?
As far as insecurities or just anything?
Just anything.
Anything. Speaking of hanging out with the kids, took my daughter and some a niece and a nephew to SeaQuest.
It's SeaQuest?
It's like a aqua petting zoo, basically. Yeah, I think.
Where is it at?
It's in Folsom.
Is it cool?
It's pretty dope because they had like stingrays all over the place.
Oh shit!
And so you can walk touch
those things
them.
Are crazy.
Yeah, it's weird.
Crazy
so
looking.
I couldn't help it. I made all kinds of silly stuff on my Instagram, on my IG story, because it just. Yeah, but it was tons of fun, man. And
are you big into embarrassing your daughter?
Not too much because
Not
she's really hard to embarrass.
Oh.
If Stephanie starts singing, she gets a little like, come on, mom. But no, dude, she's so outgoing. She's like, if I don't know, start like Fortnite dancing or something, she'll just jump up and do it right next to me. Yeah, she don't care. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, no. If anything, it's gonna be the opposite, man, because she's so outgoing. I'm just like, oh my gosh, here we go again. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think I was telling April about it, and so I think she should take her kids because they'll love it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I never even heard of it.
I know that's the thing. On my Instagram story, people were like hitting me up, like, "Where the hell are you?" Like Jessica Smith was like, "What's?" Like I said, I got silly with my IG story, so she asked me about it too, and she hadn't heard it. I don't think she heard about it either. Pretty dope spot.
Yeah, a lot of stuff is popping up in SAC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The SAC.
The SAC.
All right, I think that's all the time we got. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch y'all later.